Hi everyone. I am sitting here with Carl in his living room. Yesterday, he gave me my very first drum lesson ever, and I had a blast. I think he kind of had fun with it too. And we're wrapping up our visit here in Canada, getting ready to head back towards Tennessee, but it's completely unacceptable for me to leave without first giving Carl a lesson on the harp. So, rock musician, drummer, you get to learn to play the harp. How about that?
Yay.
Now, I'm going to walk you through the basics, just like I walk all my beginner students through. I might fast track it a little bit because I want you to get to the point where you have a sense of what it's like to actually play the harp. If I were starting a little kid, I would actually have them just come spend a few minutes each day, each week in my studio, and we would do movement games and things like that because, as you know, technique is incredibly important if you're going to end up being really able to master the instrument. I'm going to assume that we can move a bit quicker, and I will get you playing the harp today.
Super.
So, first things first, though, is movement. And we're going to start by just spreading our wings, and I tell my little kids this is the eagle.
Okay.
All right? And then we come to the chicken. All right? So we've got our chicken wings.
Yep.
And then, without flapping the chicken wings, let's come up with a jellyfish.
Okay.
So what we're doing with this is we are giving ourselves a sense of space around us, and we're getting our arms to the point where they're not jammed against our sides. With the harp, unlike the drums, we need space
Right.
between our torso and our elbow.
Okay.
So it's eagle, chicken, jellyfish, and then we get the nice relaxed hand position. Notice how your fingers are just hanging, dripping towards the floor. All right, so that's the first thing, and you are doing brilliantly at it, so
Okay.
we'll move on from there. Next, pretend that you're a hitchhiker and you're out asking for a ride. Thumbs up. All right. Now, can we do that with our chicken wing? Yes. Thumbs up, and we have space between this part. Yes, and then we're going to just let our hands open into a little, so we end up with a spiral, kind of like one of those playground slides going
Sure.
down like this. Yeah, that's great. I'm just going to angle it a little bit.
Okay.
Everything on the harp is an angle.
Okay.
Nothing is vertical, nothing is strictly horizontal. So we have this thumb, which is pointing kind of towards your face,
Okay.
and then it spirals around down, and your fingers are drooping towards the floor.
Okay.
So that is your basic starting point when you go to play the strings. That's where you want your hands to start from.
Okay.
Now, let's do a couple other things to make sure we don't end up being stiff there. Drop your hands completely, and then bring your thumbs back up and reset the position. Reach your thumbs towards your face so
Yep.
that they're open. Yep. Now, just go close, open, close, open, close, open, drop. And just drop your hands to relax. Find it again, thumbs towards your face, close, open. This is the motion that we use to play the harp. And so many people think that we're picking with our fingers.
Right.
But you see that it's a whole hand closure.
Right.
Yes, and I love the way your fingers are hanging relaxed and loose. Your thumbs could be a little more pointing up towards your nose.
Right.
And you could give a little more of a dip in your wrist here. Yes. There you go. Fabulous. All right. Next, a quick rundown of the instrument because I haven't done this for you yet. The harp is tuned diatonically. This is tuned in the key of C. So we have the C scale
Yep.
running up. We're going to leave it at that. A small harp, typically, you just play it in the key of C, or you might retune a note if you need an extra note. It does have levers. You can ignore those. They're mostly for looks on a small harp. If you get desperate, you can try experimenting with them. The red strings are C,
Okay.
or for those of you from a European country, that would be Do. And then it goes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and repeats. So the blue strings are F.
Okay.
Some harps, they look black. It depends on what strings are on there. And that's how it is. So the first thing we're going to do is you're going to place the harp on your knees or a knee so that it's resting on your right shoulder. And see if you can get to the point where it feels secure enough that you could... Yep, you want your other right shoulder.
Yes, yeah.
There you
Army
go.
right, as we say. Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, so you don't feel like you have to hold it there. It's going to, good, perfect.
With it there.
All right. So find your chicken wing in your right hand, thumb up towards your face. That's it. Dip your wrist a bit so it has a little bit of a curve, and make sure your fingers are pointing towards the floor.
Okay.
Now, without trying to reach for the strings, just carry your whole hand to the string. Thumb can stay out in the air.
Yep.
And then this finger will rest against the string and you will simply close. Right. So you have pressure into the string and close. Yes. Yes, and I need to retune this low C, but I won't play it again.
That's okay. That's
all
okay
right?
for now. Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
I can live with that.
Yep, and so you close, move slightly forwards towards the column,
Okay, hold on. Yeah.
and then reset your hand, come back. Close.
Close
Yep.
again.
Return to the C. Yep. Okay. That's a G. And back to C. And then move your hand slightly forwards, reset.
Okay.
And if we're coming from behind or the side, it can get messy in the future. Right
Interesting.
Now, right now you
use the
won't.
word angle of attack. We'll talk about that later.
It's all about consistency so
Yep.
that you can have, yes.
Left
hand down here.
The dreaded left hand.
But you'll find that it's quite easy. Yep, and then float forwards. Return. Float forwards. Return. Make sure you close completely to your palm.
Yep.
Yep. There you go. And that is your first technique that you would learn at the harp.
Okay.
Your elbows are doing great. They're not
Okay,
too
fine.
high. They're not rigid. Your shoulders are
You
relaxed.
still want to be relaxed.
Yeah,
Okay.
totally. Now, let's get a little bit crazy here and try something kind of wild.
Okay.
Take your right hand and place it on the high C. Yep, and just let it rest there.
Okay.
Wrist in a bit.
Yeah.
Now, this hand down here. Now, I'm going to explain what we're going to do before we do it. You are going to pluck this string on the first beat.
Yep.
On the second beat, your finger will come back. These will be shadowing. They're not going to be like here or here. You want them shadowing, but this is the only finger that is touching the strings. And it's
Okay.
going to slide up the whole rank of strings until you get to the top. And then on beat 3, your right hand will pluck the top string.
Okay.
So it will go C, gliss.
Okay, so hold on. Let's
Yep,
try
that's
this
all right.
again.
C, gliss, C. Yes. And when you press in, you want a good bit of flesh on the string, so it'll
Okay.
be more like that. Yeah.
Okay.
C.
I'm trying to keep my thumbs
That's all right.
pointing and
You're
everything
doing
else.
wonderful.
Whoops.
That's all right. C, and then gliss. So you're, yep.
Now, when I do the glass,
It will be with
do I
the
just
pad
drop
of your
fi-
finger.
Do I just drop
Yep.
my? So I do that and then drop
Yep.
my fingers straight back,
Yep.
right? Okay.
Yep. There you go. C, gliss, C, rest. Yep, and it's totally okay to start the gliss on the bottom note. Yep.
Okay.
C. Yes. You just want to lean in. Yes,
Okay,
yes,
yeah,
yes,
no,
yes,
okay,
yes.
no, I
Just
think-
feel confident.
no,
You
so,
can't
yeah.
break this thing. Fabulous.
Or something like that.
Yep,
Yes.
absolutely.
Okay, great.
So we have C, gliss, C. Pluck this first, then
Yep.
return and do the gliss. So it's close, then return.
Okay.
So it's 1, 2,
Right, and I'm not
3.
counting. Okay, so 1, 2, 3.
There you go.
Okay.
1. Close
1,
completely.
2,
2,
3.
3. And 1,
1,
2, 3. Rest. 1,
1,
2, 3. There you go.
1, 2, 3.
And that is an accompaniment pattern to a whole ensemble piece. If I had 4 other students here, we could have a great little harp ensemble going, and you would fit right in.
Well, maybe I wouldn't fit right in, but I would fit in.
Fabulous. Okay, so then I won't make you do this
Yes.
because it's really too far ahead. But just so that you get a sense of what happens next.
Yep.
Once you have this finger anchored, let's say you can do this comfortably on any note and you've
Right.
practiced all different speeds and all of this. This note is still stretching.
Yeah, so I can find the strings readily, is what you're saying.
Right. And
Okay.
you're comfortable with that basic close, float, open, come back.
Right.
And all of that. Your wrist is tucked in, your elbow is floating out, and all of this is good. The next step would be learning to place the thumb. And you notice that unlike the drums, which you had me doing like this with the thumb
Yep.
underneath
the thumb
the finger,
and right across. Yep.
unlike the drums, your thumb is going to be quite vertical. And it's basically pointing up while your finger is pointing down.
Okay.
The reason for that is because our action is closure, right?
Right.
And if we want to have any force to close, any ability to exert force on the strings, we have to have a place to close to. And so we use the closing action. If we go like this, we're left with pinching rather tightly here. This gets more of the whole hand active. So we would end up practicing these kinds of things. And everybody likes to slide their thumbs down together. So we would spend a good while really working
keeping them.
this.
Okay.
And then the next step would be, after that, and we've spent some time doing all kinds of variants of that and everything, then we learn to place the next finger. And you notice now, this is why the angle of attack is so important. Because if I come from the front, my fingers always land where they're supposed to,
Right.
without having to loop around and come in.
Got it.
Or crash in from the side.
Right.
So it's coming from the front, and the thumb opens wide enough. That's why we practice from the very beginning with our thumb towards our nose.
Right.
So that it's open wide enough, it can approach from the back. I'm going to do it up here, it's more in tune. And then you can do all the wonderful harpy sounds.
Arpeggiated
And-
stuff.
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and so then eventually... Boom, this
Yeah,
note
it's
is
now
going
flat.
to go flat again.
Yes.
Yeah. And that is kind of the foundation of how we progress through. And I won't ask you to do all of that today because it's really too much. But
No, but what we could do too, because we have virtual ability, every so often, you know, even if it's once a month, because we're going to be talking more frequently. I'll say,
Totally.
hey, can you quickly go over a couple of new things?
absolutely. And
just work
I
at
would,
it
I
at
would
my
love
pace.
to walk you through the progression of getting to the point where you can actually play some nice little pieces of music on the harp.
Sure.
And this is a 2-octave harp. This is the size I start nearly all my students on.
Right.
Because the bigger the harp, the more expensive they get.
Of course.
And these are great. They can go with you anywhere.
Well, and they're
They're
controllable
fairly
as well.
durable, and you
Yeah.
don't get lost in a whole row of strings that you're not ready to use yet. So
Right.
there's a ton of music that you can do on a 2-octave harp.
Sure.
And
Well,
A lot can
I
be
think of
done.
it even back to when I did piano lessons. The vast majority of music that I played was 1 octave left of middle C,
Yep.
and 1 octave to the right of middle C.
Right.
And there's a lot you can do in that
there is
space.
so much you can
So
do.
I would see
Yeah.
this as analogous to what you're
Same
doing
thing.
with this. Yeah.
And then if a person gets to the point where their repertoire needs more range, then that's the point at which we say, it's time to buy a bigger harp. But now you've practiced enough that you can handle it, and you also know that you're committed enough that it's worth the investment.
Well, here's an interesting thing. On the harps, you told me before that there are electric harps. Well,
Yeah.
in the guitar world, you can get an octave pedal for a guitar where you can play a note, hitting the octave pedal, and it'll now play the octave below. So if you ever
Interesting.
needed, and I'm just thinking of
You could
muscle,
try- yeah,
I'm just thinking
you
of
could
muscle
try something
memory,
like that.
because a lot of this is muscle memory.
Absolutely.
If I'm really comfortable on a 2-octave harp, now I should be able to take that technique and expand it to larger.
Totally.
But by being really comfortable on a particular instrument and having an octave pedal, I could play it all from the one harp and
You
expand
could.
the range on
You
it.
could. You totally could.
Yeah, which would be
Yeah.
pretty cool, actually.
So let me show you just a few of the little tunes that we go through. Actually, the very first tune that our curriculum uses, we based our curriculum off of the tune selection off of commonly known folk songs and stuff that people would be familiar with.
Sure.
Because the idea is, it's all about technique anyway.
Yes.
We don't really care whether it's a tune or not, but somebody who's learning the harp wants to know that they are playing something recognizable. Sure. So the first thing we learn to do is the little hot cross buns tune.
Right.
Because it's simply 3 notes. This is simply practicing the close, float, open, come back with a rest. And then we do it again. And then we get to practice it at higher speed, rhythmically. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. And you just have to refine your aim and your ability to land there without buzzing the strings or anything like that.
Right.
So that's where it starts. And then from there on, of course, we also have simpler parts to that tune. The idea is that students can learn in an ensemble group. They get the orchestral ensemble experience from ground zero. And so even if all you know how to do is G, rest, G, rest,
Right.
they can fit in with the whole ensemble.
Yes,
and then
of
things
course.
get more progressive from there. There's a later tune which... This is called The Fountain, I think.
And it kind of makes sense. I didn't figure that or the waterfall. Very nice.
And of course, you can do all kinds of folk melodies, Christmas carols,
Sure.
commonly sung diatonic music
Right.
on the harp. It works wonderfully. You can do an accompaniment here, just another recognized one.
Certainly.
Something like that. So
Yep.
you're able to get around. We learn to do cross-handed
Right.
leaping because that happens a lot. We learn to do gross motor leaps and different intervals, things like that.
Sure, that would make sense.
There's all kinds of stuff you can do. And of course, the music reading goes along with it.
Yeah.
All of that. So there you go. Let me see you do your C gliss C again, just because
Okay.
that was great.
So, hold on.
Yep.
Let me get my position.
Fine. Fine. Eagle.
My eagle. I come to my
Chicken.
chicken.
Jellyfish.
Yeah, jellyfish.
And then thumbs up.
Thumbs up pointing
Tuck
towards
your
myself.
wrists in.
Yeah. There. Okay,
There you
we
go. There
Yeah.
you go. Now this hand down here. This finger up here. We're not worried about thumbs playing yet. So this finger will
Oh,
play
sorry.
there. That's
I
all right.
apologize.
Your thumbs will just kind of reach towards your nose.
yeah.
Yep. And so it's close. Gliss. C. Rest. 1.
Right.
2, 3. Rest. 1, 2, 3. Thumbs up.
I can see why this is
1,
going to take a little
2,
while of learning.
3. Close your hands. Close.
That's-
Yep, you have to remember to close on this one first,
Yes.
and then return and do the slide. Thumbs up. Close.
Whoops, let me
That's
do
all
that
right.
again.
There you go. Close. Thumbs reaching towards your face.
Well, I keep hitting
Your
the
fingers,
second note.
yeah. Let your fingers work together. They shadow
Okay.
each other. Yep, that's it. There. There you go.
Okay. That's enough for me to learn.
Congratulations!
Thank you, my dear.
All right.
I just want to make a comment, too.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting a gift from Amy and Vlad when they came up. I certainly wasn't expecting something like this. And as most musicians will tell you, instruments are very personal and they have a specific meaning to the individual that has them. And once it becomes yours, it is your expression or it's your instrument that you can
Yes.
express with. And so I was very, very touched and flattered that you would think of me and bring me my own harp because it certainly isn't anything I would have thought I would ever own, simply
course,
because of what I do.
You're a drummer, you're a military officer. Who's going to carry a harp around,
Harp,
right?
But I couldn't help thinking, for those of you, if there are any Star Trek fans out there, Spock, when he's playing the harp in one of the original series shows, it's just a magnificent thing to receive. An instrument like this, so I very, very much appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
Yes.
And on that note, I have to show off the gift that Carl gave me, which is going to thrill a lot of you. This is an electric guitar, which I have to learn how to use, but let's see. I have to be holding it this way.
Using it, left hand on the neck.
I have to be holding it this way. And
we need to do a lesson on that as well.
we should do a lesson on that because growing up, we had a very good family friend who was a classical guitarist. And actually, as a young person, he had played in a rock band. But then he got introduced to Bach. He went to university and studied classical guitar. He left his whole rock life behind. He was in love with the music of Bach for the rest of his life. And I remember listening to him play gorgeous classical music, all the Spanish classics and Bach, and he would transcribe music and all kinds of stuff, but it was all classical based. So I've never been this close to an electric guitar before in my life. And here I am. Carl has given me this beautiful instrument, and he even gave me a little amp so I can plug it in.
Yeah, it kind of goes along with territory. And for
Yeah.
any of those of you who know anything about guitars, this is an AXL distress guitar. Excuse me. And for those of you who don't know what that means when you say it's a distress guitar, it means it's weathered and it looks old. It's a brand new guitar. It just so happens that it looks
it has
old.
this beautiful
because you want
antique looking finish.
Exactly. But the AXL line, it's called the Badwater line. They have a series of guitars, and they're very nice guitars. So I thought Amy would be deserving of being introduced to the rock music genre by everyone should have their own guitar. So now she has her own electric guitar.
So those of you who have been saying, you can't wait until I learn to play some rock music or try my hand at a guitar, that is in the very near future, because I have a guitar now. The other thing, which Carl also gave me as a gift, is this beautiful
Symbol.
And this is going to hang on the wall in my studio, because obviously I don't have a whole drum set, and I don't have room for one either, so don't get any ideas.
And again, just so that those people who are aware, this is a 22-inch heavy ride cymbal. In fact, I designed it. It's my own design.
It has his name on it right here.
Yeah, my name's actually stamped on it, and it's from a company called Dream Cymbals. They make wonderful cymbals. This one was specially made to the specifications that I actually asked for. And I sell these through my studio because it's just a fantastic ride, especially for someone who wants a very large bell sound, which is the section that comes from this portion of the cymbal. Anyway.
And then last but not least, to those of you who have seen my wobbly table, which I do my first lessons and everything with, Carl has gifted me a little drum with a stand, which does not wobble. So I have a place to set my iPad, and also I can practice drumming because he has given me some drumsticks. And so you can imagine all that's going to be going on behind the scenes as I continue to explore this new musical world. And Carl will get to try out the harp, and I'm sure that you will get to see some little video clips and glimpses of our progress and journey along the way, and that's just the joy of getting together with musicians who love music, and this is so wonderful.
I agree.
Thank you so much, Carl.
Of course you're welcome.
You're
more than welcome.
It has been delightful, and I can't wait to see how this develops and continues.
Same here. Same here.
So there we have Carl's first harp lesson and some extra bonus little things here. I will see you all soon, possibly back in Tennessee next time.